You're listening to Middle-Age Movie Reviews.
Hello, welcome to Middle-Age Movies Podcast. Four guys saying, somebody left the door open and the wrong dogs came home. My name is Tim, and my podcasting partners are...
Matt,
Joey,
and Rick.
All right, Joey, what epic tale from the Old West are we watching tonight?
Tonight we are watching High Plains Drifter, number 541, from the book of 1001 Movies You Should Watch Before You Die. Written by Ernest Tidyman, directed by Clint Eastwood, starring Clint Eastwood, Jeffrey Lewis, Mariana Hill, Erna Bloom, and Belle Curtis.
thanks, Joey. You know, guys, High Plains Drifter just really doesn't give us an understanding of the story. What do you think, Rick? Do you have a better title?
Oh my God. This title sucks. This absolutely sucks. I have no idea how it even made it out of off the floor because it's no good. I have something far more superior. This is definitely, if they would have done this, it would have been even bigger of a deal than it already was. So here is the title, the upgraded title. It is Western Vengeance. The mysterious stranger with brutal ways and an unorthodox plan protects the town from outlaws released from prison with a score to settle. That's it.
Very nice. Very nice. Yes, the audience agrees that it's clearly a far superior.
All right.
All right, well, guys, I'm actually going to start this one off tonight. I can tell you for a fact, Jack, that this film is the first feature-length Clint Eastwood cowboy film that I ever watched. I was around 8 or 9 years old, and it was on plain old television on a lazy Sunday afternoon. I remember distinctly that this was on a UHF station because I remember turning the higher station dial with a pair of pliers. Click, 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 click.
The vice grips.
Yep.
So the dial broke off?
Yes, the dial had broken off, so we were using the pliers to turn the little knob so that we could get to the right station. So
Was it
was on a UHF
in
station.
green? Were you getting a little bit of green from the contrast not being exactly right?
That's a little fuzzy in my head. I can't quite remember. So, but I was watching it on the glorious 19 inches on my childhood home's living room floor, sitting in one of those beanbag chairs. And of course, my father was asleep on the couch, and I was captivated by this gunslinger riding into town. A man with no name, you might say, that looked tough, and I had to say I had to admire him. All right, so that's kind of my first viewing, my glimpse into my childhood. How about you, Tim? What was your first time watching this film, since you are our Western film aficionado?
Well, now I feel kind of bad. I can't remember what was the first Clint Eastwood Western I've ever seen, so you've set the bar kind of high, and I'm going to fall short on that one. But yeah, this is simply something I had to have either seen on TV or I'm going to guess VHS, probably Blockbuster or something like that, because even for me, this movie's too old. I was not old enough to even come close to seeing this in a theater ever. So... yeah, it had to have been a VHS viewing. I'm going to guess, honestly. I'm going to probably say I used to spend a lot of time in Wisconsin fishing in the summers, like entire summers up there. And they had a little, video rental store. And I think I probably rented every damn videotape they had from one end to the other. And that's probably one of the movies I've seen up there, I would imagine, because my uncle and my father were huge action adventure Western guys. So, anything with a good gunfight was something we were going to watch that night after a good and or bad day of fishing.
Nice. A good way to relax.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Joey, how about you? When was the first time you saw this Clint Eastwood epic?
It in its entirety, I would have to say it was for this podcast. I'm much more familiar with and remembering the 1985 movie that Clint Eastwood, where he wasn't satisfied with High Plains Drifter, so he made a very similar movie called Pale Rider. And I'm very familiar with that. I remember seeing that when I was a kid on TV. But this movie, I remember seeing parts of it here and there on cable, but I've never seen it in entirety until now.
So if he was George Lucas, he would have put like CGI horses in Pale Rider to make up for stuff from this movie?
Well, I'll give him credit. George Lucas has not remade any of the Star Wars movies yet. He just touched them up in awful ways, especially with, Han shooting first.
Right. Okay. Well, how about you, Rick, as our younger viewer who hasn't really probably watched as many Westerns as the rest of us? Where do you sit with High Plains Drifter?
I've never even heard of this fucking thing, man. I seen it on our list for what we got to watch. I was like, what is that? Like 1973? What the fuck kind of movie is this, So I walked into this thing just the other day with knowing nothing. I mean, the only thing I wanted to do was check to make sure I was watching the exact right thing. And I happened to see that it was a Clint Eastwood type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
From there, and there's a little bit of artwork for the movie, like the that you would see on a VHS or a DVD or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, so it's probably like a Western or something like that. And that was it. That's all I knew. I had no shit about this movie at all. Never heard of it. I mean, you guys talk about seeing Clint Eastwood movies. I've seen like The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, and a few scenes from A Fistful of Dollars, and that's like it, man.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I walked into this completely blank slate. Didn't have any expectation, shit about it.
Nice. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing your fresh perspective on this film then. Okay, Tim. Well, as our resident town sheriff and mayor, what are you going to request for our synopsis tonight?
All right. Well, Matthew, tonight, as long as Joey's willing, I think I'm going to give you the night off because I'm afraid if I give this one to you, it's going to end up completely Irish and it has no purpose ever being an Irish at all. So
you got it there.
And it's kind of a gift to Dungeon Master Rick there. Rick, this is for you. So Joey, if you will, tonight, I would like you to read this synopsis as Don LaFontaine, the epic movie trailer announcer, as he reads this classic 70s movie synopsis.
All right. Ooh, all right. I can't wait to hear this.
We are going to hook you in.
In a world where greed ruled men's hearts and treachery set hell in motion, the townspeople of Lago must now face the consequences of their actions. After betraying the sheriff over a disputed local mine, the townspeople do nothing as he is whipped to death by ruthless outlaws. In order to cover up the crime, they arrest the outlaws during a drunken stupor and send them to prison. But now, a day of reckoning has come for the outlaws, for they are to be released, and they have vowed to make the town pay. In desperation, the townspeople approach a dark stranger in hopes that he will defend them against the outlaws. Reluctant to help, the townspeople promise him anything if he will stay and fight. Now the deal with the devil has been cast, and hell is about to come to Mar-a-Lago. I mean Lago.
Very nice done, Joey. Very nicely done. Yeah.
Very nice. I truly felt like watching a classic 70s or 80s action.
Yeah. I think the real trailer here is about to have some serious competition.
I think if the real Don LaFontaine read that many words, and I think he did charge by the word, I think you might owe him about, $500,000.
Yeah, no doubt. We're looking at that guy's pushing up daisies at this point, or we'd be in a lot of trouble. But with that said, Matt, play the trailer. Let's see how Joey fared.
A drifter came riding out of the West. You know him as Clint Eastwood. The citizens of Lago didn't know him at all.
What did you say your name was again?
I didn't.
Fear was in their greeting. Murder was in their minds.
We're talking about hiring a gunfighter.
Yeah, we don't know anything about that fella there. Who is he? Where's he come from? You don't want to get shot. You don't want your shops or your houses burned. You don't want your women touched. You don't want anything to happen. Except you're afraid to do anything about it.
That stranger's got everybody in this town at each other's throats.
One man against one town. Not bad odds.
About time this town has a new sheriff.
I'm the sheriff.
And the mayor.
I'm the mayor.
Any objections? You shot my ear off! I'll kill every man in
You know what you are. You're an animal.
Well, you have a way of bringing that out.
They didn't know him when he drifted into town. Now they'll never forget him.
Who are you?
To see it.
Damn, man, that little bit at the end. But hey, look, they had some really cool music going. I have to say, we definitely got to put the music in the background. What the heck was it? Which movie was it that for when Matt was reading? It was
for the Dance with the Wolves. Yeah,
dude, that was killer, man.
Yeah,
that was killer.
I'll see if I can drum up some old West music to put behind Joey.
Nice.
I love that. He shot my ear off. There's some great lines in that one. You know, you're an animal. Well, you tend to bring that out in people.
That trailer, I really don't know if the movie itself has a very good theme for what's really going on in the movie. Even the trailer it seems like it kind of misses the mark. But
how do you promote this movie? I mean, this is the darkest Western ever made, man. And it's a semi-thriller or a horror Western almost to some degree, you know?
This is like a Halloween type of Western.
Yeah.
You know?
That's why
even IMDb listed it as a Western and a horror, which I thought was weird.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'll give it to Joey though. I think his reading of the synopsis is pretty darn good. I mean, they both kind of had some, pluses and minuses, but I think Joey's might have, etched out a little bit there. I think he might have, crossed the finish line just a little ahead of that guy.
Are we sure that was Don or was that somebody else?
Oh, that was somebody else. That was definitely not him.
Yeah, but, Don would kick my ass every day.
Yeah.
Twice on Sunday.
I mean, that guy had the right voice for it though, but he was good. Yeah, he just didn't have the
better
delivery.
Than me. I think he's a lot better than me.
I think the trailer had some slow parts in it, though, that if they had just tightened it up a little bit more, it'd have been pretty fantastic. But yeah. Well, I'm gonna give it to you, Joey.
It definitely wanted to bring you to the theater and sit in the seats and watch the film. I can say that.
Hey, man. I mean, definitely when you're aiming to see it,
I don't know how you could have presented this in a trailer to give the idea of what this movie's going to be about, and you don't need to though, because it's a Western. All you see, it's got Clint Eastwood. It's got cowboys and it's got gunfighting going on. And that's it. That's all you need to show to get people into the theater. And then people sit down and are like, whoa, this may be the weirdest, darkest Western I've ever seen. Like, this is really out there. So, in fact, this is the Western that starts the long rift between Clint Eastwood and John Wayne. Because after Clint makes this one, he sends a letter to John Wayne and says, hey, we're kind of the big icons of Westerns. We should make one together. And John Wayne's like, oh, the fuck no, we are not doing that. Not at all. Hell no. Because you have sullied the cowboy name. You have taken it to a place that it should have never went. You've made him dark and evil, and that's not what a cowboy stands for. He's supposed to stand for truth and justice and the American way. And so, that's it. Like,
cowboys are like Superman?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's cowboys are Superman, of the day. But
I'm going to have to get on the AI, and I'm going to take a picture of George Reeves And I'm going to ask it to put John Wayne's face on that doughy body.
There you go. Yeah, so that's why we will never see the two of them in there. And Clint Eastwood, being the guy he is, he's like, well, I'm just going to keep making really fucking outstanding Westerns, and you can just deal with that then, I guess. There you go.
I do know that John Wayne did comment that Eastwood's characters always shot guys in the back. Real cowboys, faced off against a person.
Yeah, except I think Clint Eastwood's probably more on the mark than John Wayne ever was. That's what I've always said about Open Range, which is one of my favorite Westerns. There's a gunfight in that. It's, who's in it? Costner's in it. And he looks at, and I can't think of the other guy that's in it right now.
Robert Duvall.
Thank you, Robert Duvall. He's like, have you ever been in a gunfight? He's like, no, not really. He goes, well, here's how it's going to go. You're going to have 5 or 6 guys, and out of them, there's really only going to be 1 or 2 real gunfighters. And then the rest of those guys are either going to lose their shit and they're going to take off, or they're just going to start throwing lead everywhere and going for cover, which is exactly what they do. All out, everybody's running blind fire and shoot each other. And there's really like him and 2 other gunfighters that are really solid in that. And the rest of those guys are just throwing lead wherever they think it'll go. And they're just not looking most of the time. And I think that's the way gunfights really were. It's not that tombstone thing. You got 5, 6 guys on either side, throwing down in the middle of the road, and they're all shooting each other until somebody, there's only one last guy standing kind of thing. I don't believe that happened nearly as much.
Yeah, this movie definitely takes the romance out of Westerns. It's more gritty, more realistic.
More grape flavored?
Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that, Joey. In fact, let's just go ahead and dive into the movie then. So we start off with a mysterious unnamed stranger riding out of a heat mirage in the desert into the isolated mining town of Lago. 3 gunmen hired to protect the town taunt and threaten him. They give him some guff in the saloon, then follow him across the street to the barber, where he is clever and hides his weapon under his barber smock and kills the 3 with little effort. When the attractive blonde woman Callie Travers flirtatiously insults him, he teaches her a lesson and has his way with her in the livery stable, while the townspeople do nothing. Aside from the non-consensual coitus, what do you think of the introduction to our stranger?
I think you instantly know that this is not going to be a standard Western, because you get that cool beginning with just the heat mirage across. It's not really a desert. It's like a plains or something, that we're really looking at.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Clint Eastwood's character just comes out of nowhere. So you're like, I guess he could have been in that heat mirage, but it's the music. And Rick's already started to kind of talk about that. It's the music behind this that's really setting the mood. And it's not like, it's not, we don't have that spaghetti Western stuff that we got in The Good and the Bad and the Ugly. We're getting this weird kind of, I don't want to say scary, but otherworldly sounding music coming along out of this. And you're like, okay, this is already not the typical Western. And then this guy shows up in the town and everybody there looks terrified and worried, and they just looking at this guy like, okay, who the hell is this dude? And you would think with such a small town, they'd be happy to see a new stranger come in, because that's more money. There's a lot of shops in this town with only a few people living in it. I don't know how they're supporting a barber shop and a bar and a leather goods and a gunsmith. People coming in, you think you'd want to be welcoming, because that's the way your business are going to keep thriving to expand this out. And they are not that way.
Did you notice that a lot of the buildings were still like under construction? So the town was definitely still developing.
Yeah, for sure.
Dude, everything in the town was like pristine. Yeah, I don't even know if you guys even realize that the glass for the saloon was crystal clear, and all the lettering for every single sign was perfectly brand new paint. I don't know if that's just like maybe a miss for production, or if there was something to that. It kind of just seemed like it was maybe just a production thing. Like they put together the set and not really thinking about it's a Western and this is in the middle of nowhere. I mean, in the first scene, glass is broken, yet every single house, every single building looked like it was brand new.
Well, I think they kind of cover that later on. There's mention of a mine. So this is a new pop-up mining town. And I think they struck something in this mine. They never talk about it, but I'm going to assume it's gold. I mean, that would make sense because I believe it's set in California. And so this is going to be during the gold rush. And everything is really new and shiny, because usually when you start off with a mining town, there's a couple guys with tents. They strike gold. Everybody moves in and they start building buildings really quick to support the mining effort in that area. I think there's a lot of money getting injected in this town, and people that are trying to build up very quickly so that they can support this this new, gold rush that's been found here.
I would agree with that. You're definitely establishing this mining town. The way everything looks. I mean, like I said, half the buildings aren't completed, so things are going to be new.
Well, and look at like the leather goods store. I mean, that saddle that's in the window as he passes, that thing's like blingy as all get out.
Yeah,
you're not going to have that in a town that can't support it. That's a town that's got money coming in. So I'm going to bring in my super nice goods because I know the people here are going to be able to afford really nice blingy items.
I think the only downside to the establishing shot of this town is I would have thought there'd be more people there actually doing the physical mining. There is a body of water right next to them, and maybe there's people like downriver or somewhere else on the lake. But I would have expected more townspeople, or at least a busier area, higher traffic.
It looks more like it's a port town.
Yeah.
It is a little off-putting in the way that it's presented. I still won't disagree with any of you on that. Obviously, it's exactly what Rick said. They built that entire town. Clint Eastwood scouted that out himself, found that spot, liked it, and he had them build that entire town. And all those buildings are actually three-dimensional so that they can film this and have all those buildings to use. So they were built on the spot, brand new. So I guess, a little hard to probably find aged wood to build such things.
Right.
And they weren't working with an original town that was there or something that they could bring back up to, par.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the townspeople. I think Tim had said that, what the hell's going on with these people? Why are they so uptight? Like there's something wrong. They're mean mugging this guy for coming into town. And, why are they not trying to get this guy's business? Instead, it looks like everyone wants him to just leave.
Yeah.
Like I wrote in my notes, it looked like everyone want to kill him. I don't think that's like what's going on. Now, I think it was a few people who wanted to kill him, but most of them just want him just to leave. That was the kind of vibe when I was really thinking about it after the scene. That's really what it's about. They just don't want him here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he picks up on that too, because if you notice, once we get to the scene where, those guys come in and pick a fight with him, the one thing I caught after it's all said and done, once he, gets into the gunfight, shoots all three of those guys down. If you notice, when he stands up, he pulls out a fake pistol grip out of his holster and puts his gun back in. So, so he knew something wasn't right. And he kind of set them up, think that he was just, basically waiting to be a victim.
Well, if you think about it as the story goes along, they think that he might be working with the three gunslingers. Maybe he's a spy or something. So they're very cautious because they know that those three guys are going to be getting out of prison. So they're kind of going to be looking at strangers in a whole new light until, these guys get out of prison. So that's kind of where I think they're coming from. And on top of the fact that, the townspeople have a secret and they don't want that secret to get out.
Well, they know shit's about to go down. I mean, that's really what it comes down to is, hell's about to ride into town.
Yeah.
And they're all on edge because of this. And having one more guy show up is just something that they don't need to deal with.
And I thought it was kind of neat that we see that classic trope nowadays where, our hero walks into the saloon and then he gets some guff from the local gunfighters and it pays off within like a few minutes. Joey, what did you think of the whole gunfight in the barbershop?
Oh, I loved it. I think he was trying to present them with an opportunity. I mean, he literally came in there and said the only thing he wanted besides the beer and the bottle was an hour apiece to drink it. And these guys are eyeballing him, but he basically reaches for the bottle very quickly, and they thought he was going to draw his gun, but because he did it fast.
Yeah.
And that kind of spooked them, and he was gauging their reaction, and they were realizing that maybe they shouldn't fuck with this guy. But so he goes over to give them the opportunity. He's going to be in the barber's chair. He's going to look like maybe he's disarmed, but in fact, he had his gun drawn on them while they're coming in there to like physically bully him. He knew that was a distinct possibility.
I think all through this entire movie, he does that. I think he kind of weighs the scales for all of these characters that we come across, or at least the protagonist comes across. So with every interaction, I think he's just weighing the scales. Whatever negativity you put upon me, he's going to unfold on them. He is going to bring retribution.
Yeah, and he seems to be like one step ahead of all the townspeople, as whenever he does something. And I thought that was really cool. We don't know yet the whole supernatural drive behind this. It is kind of clever how he seems to be like the smartest guy in the town when he shows up.
And he's a badass, right?
Yeah.
I think we definitely have to mention when it does come to those three dudes that he laid waste to, he didn't just shoot them dead. He had a gun underneath his barber cloth, and he shot the first dude square in the forehead, man. That is a crazy shot. This dude is a SOB, man.
I got a theory on that, but I want to wait till we just get to the next scene, and I'll lay it on you guys as to what I think is going on there. But
Okay.
he pulls into town and he's picking up on all this negative vibes and stuff that's going on, and I think he's kind of like, well, this is going to be interesting. Let's play this game for a while and see where it takes us. I think he's got all the frogs in the pot, and he's just going to start slowly turning up the flame. I think he's just like, I'm going to fuck with these people. It's just, this is going to be a good time for me.
Right.
We're going to find out there's more to it than that later. But I think, like Rick says, he's gauging everybody to some degree. But I think he's also like, how can I amp this up? This looks like this could be a lot of fun. How can I make this the most disruptive and fun thing for me to do to mess with this town of just really unhinged and unsettled people?
Yeah. It is neat that as he's doing that, we slowly see each character and we kind of get an idea of what these townspeople are like. As I had mentioned, he runs into Callie Travers, who apparently is the woman of ill repute in the town. And he even calls her out on it.
Well, she was kind of standing there looking pretty when he's coming in.
Yeah.
And then she did the shoulder thing. So I don't know if they ever definitively say that, like, that's her profession. She might just be kind of a psycho, because we have some psycho behavior later.
I think she's just a whore.
Yeah, that's her profession, I think.
Regardless, her unusual way of flirting, and I do think she was flirting with him.
Yeah, definitely.
I did distinctly hear her say no many times as he drug her into a barn. Literally had not even a roll in the hay. It was it was a grape in the hay.
I don't know if you can actually call it that, though.
It was grape. They kind of like allude that like 20 seconds in, she's like starting to like it, and then he's done. I know Purplesaurus Rex when I see it.
I don't know if you can call it that. We'll have to revisit this at the end of the movie, because I don't think you can actually call it that.
I would love to watch Rick watch this scene with a room full of feminists and try to defend that was consensual.
I'm not saying that it was consensual necessarily.
No.
I'm just saying that I don't think we can classify it as grape. And there's a reason that we cannot talk about until the end of the movie.
Okay.
I think it starts off as a no, don't stop. And then it ends as a no, don't stop.
Don't stop. Wait, that was it? What the hell, you motherfucker?
She knew what she was doing. I mean, that was her ultimate goal when she bumped into him.
Absolutely.
It's just he amped it up and just decided we're just going to get this over quick and dirty. And she was not expecting that. I think she was hoping to get a little wine and dine, before she got down to the deed. And he's just like, nope, I'm just going to drag you in and we're going to get it done.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it should have happened, but I'm saying that's what did happen. And that was my observation.
Yeah.
No, don't stop. No, don't stop.
Yeah.
There was some words there that didn't mean what they were saying when she was saying it, I think, a little bit. But it doesn't make the action justified.
And they don't outright say that she was a prostitute, but it seemed as though that's what she was. Probably, if anything, was just upset, like it was taken, not paid for.
I don't think you body check a guy that just killed 3 other dudes and expect anything else to happen.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Come on. This guy has just laid waste to 3 guys, and now you're going to body check him and start some shit in the street. And there's some underlying reasoning as to why he does what he does to her too, which we'll get into things unfold here. Again, I'm not justifying the action, but it's what happened, and that was my take on it.
Yeah, I don't justify it either, but I don't think you can call it what is being called right now.
Well, I half agree with Joey, and I half agree with you. It was a little A and a little B.
I'm thinking a little less A, a little more B.
Yeah. Like I said, that there was definitely an end goal there. She just got to the end a lot quicker than she thought she was going to.
All right. Well, then that night in his hotel room, the stranger dreams of Jim Duncan, a U.S. Marshal, being whipped to death by outlaws Stacy Bridge and his brothers Dan and Cole Carlin, as Lagos citizens watch in silence. Now, what I think about this is it's neat that it's the reveal of Jim Duncan's attack. And what are your thoughts on the significance of this dream? Is this a memory? And is the stranger really Jim Duncan recovered and looking different from being whipped? Or is the stranger an avenging angel and is getting his mission from on high?
He is not an angel. It's very confusing because you think he's having the dream, and there is a shot where it's clearly Clint Eastwood with the bloody lines on his face, but then you see it's this other guy, and I think it's just piss poor story logic. I don't know how he intended us to interpret this scene, but I don't think it worked. And it didn't work here, and it kind of works a little better when the little guy's having the flashback later.
Right.
Because then you're seeing it like he's worried that his new friend is going to have this happen to him just like the last guy, because he witnessed it from, underneath that house, very up close. Here, it's just fucking confusing. My wife was sitting next to me also, and she's just like, what the fuck's going on? I said, that's Clint Eastwood. And she goes, no, it's not. And I go, it's not. And then it's like, I see it all again, replay later. And it's just, it's piss poor story logic. It wasn't well done. I don't know what he meant for us to think, but I don't think I'll ever know unless it's on the director's commentary. I wasn't aware.
I had to look this shit up, man. Cause I was also like, what is going on here? Like, why am I getting this bit? I didn't even realize it was like a kind of like a flashback until later. And they was talking about shit, and then like you said, we saw the little guy have that flashback and stuff. But I understand that it was at one point supposed to be that Clint Eastwood's character was supposed to be the brother of the
sheriff.
Yeah, the sheriff. And then like toward the end of production, they were like, it'd be cooler if it was just the vengeful spirit of the sheriff. And that's why it seems like it doesn't make sense.
Right.
I mean, if that's what it is, then I don't know if you could call it grape anymore, Joey.
Yeah, well, and you're not wrong, Rick. I mean, originally it was supposed to be the brother there for vengeance, and then they kind of turned this into more of a semi-horror film, with some supernatural stuff on it. And so when Clint Eastwood shot that scene, he did that on purpose. He wanted there to be some ambiguity as to planting the seed now of, is this the sheriff come back to life or something? So I think it was done on purpose to kind of add to the almost Matrix effect. Like, what the fuck am I watching here?
Right.
Again, like a lot of these movies you're watching, you're not 100% sure. You go back and forth. Like, who is this guy? Is he actually the spirit of the dead sheriff? Is he not? Like, who is he? Or is he just the guy that likes to, fuck with people? It's just kind of a jerk. I don't know. But yeah, I think it was done on purpose.
Apparently it was the guy that played as the sheriff they wanted it to look close. So it was the stunt double of Clint Eastwood.
Yeah. You literally just took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah. Every once in a while you see a shot of it and it's like the same body style, the same, like, I would say almost shape of Clint Eastwood, but it's not his face. So it kind of throws you off. It is an interesting way of trying to tell this idea of, who is this stranger? What's his connection to the U.S. Marshal? Probably could have been explained a little better.
Would you have enjoyed it as much, though, if they just plainly told you that's what it was? I mean, this keeps you guessing.
Yeah.
So I kind of like it, especially because, again, you're sitting down and thinking you're watching a Western and you're getting a pseudo-Western out of this. So.
Yeah, I like a little ambiguity going into it, so that was pretty cool. The next day, the stranger heads over to the barbershop to get his bath that he already paid for and his shave. As he's getting into his bath, we see the new sheriff in town, as well as we get to know a little more about Mordecai. As the stranger's relaxing in the bathtub, Callie comes storming in and tries shooting in at the stranger, but he ducks under the water and the stranger emerges uninjured. As Lago's town council, needing to replace the 3 gunmen, offer the stranger anything he wants to protect the town from Bridges and Carlins, who will soon be released from prison. The sheriff tells the stranger about their problem and how the 3 gunslingers stole a gold ingot from the mining company. The stranger questions it, but then accepts the job and takes full advantage of the deal. So before I dive too much into the deal, I do think that it's interesting that Callie comes in and is holding like this little like derringer and starts taking pot shots at the stranger. And he ducks into the water. I'm like, why didn't the bullets hit him? I mean, I realize, shooting a bullet into water, it does slow it down, but it shouldn't stop it. You guys have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, dude, he's a ghost, bro. I mean, you can't kill him with a bullet. He's a ghost. The same reason why he couldn't have raped her, because he's a ghost.
And that's where I'm at with this. So this is the scene I was waiting for, because you're right. If anybody's watched the Mythbusters episodes where they're firing guns in the water and stuff, you know that bullets quickly lose their momentum in water, but not in a bathtub of water at that close. And I sat and thought about that for a little bit, because I'm like, she had to have hit him. Not only that, but then I'm like, well, why isn't the bathtub emptying? Because if she had missed him, she clearly didn't shoot the top because you don't see any holes. So the rounds went in there and they would have penetrated the tub, and the tub would be emptying out, and it doesn't. So I think she hit him. He's a ghost and can't be killed.
Yeah.
That's my theory. He just absorbed the rounds, which would also lead me to believe that's why he's such a crack shot, being able to shoot underneath the schmuck of the barbers, shooting guys between the eyes, and things like that without even having to aim. Because that one guy's like, did you hear what he did in the barber shop? Man, I ain't even ever heard of anybody shooting like that, let alone seen it. He's already doing some almost semi-supernatural things. And if he is the ghost of the sheriff. That explains why we have the non-consensual, coitus action happening, because that woman's clearly in the flashback. You see her just standing and watching like everybody else. So he's kind of like, well,
yeah,
you get what you get now kind of thing. And that would explain his attitude towards these people.
That's fucked up.
Make them as miserable as I possibly can. And I'm going to fuck with them at every chance that I get. And I'm going to amp up the situation till it's just unbearable for everybody. And the only one he doesn't screw with is the little guy Mordecai.
Yeah.
Because that guy, of course, witnessed it too, but he has no weapons. He has no ability to defend himself against anybody much larger than him. And, he was the one guy that him and the hotel manager's wife, and she's like, we got to stop this. And they pull her in like, just get in the house, woman kind of thing. So, but that's my theory, is that she hit him and he just absorbed those bullets, because no water's leaking out of that tub. And there's no way at that range. I don't care. You could be a blind person. As long as somebody aimed your hand in the right direction, you should have been able to hit him.
Yeah. That was kind of my thought too, is that, if he is a spirit of vengeance, this kind of shows his supernatural abilities.
This is just a little bit of an aside. I ended up watching this way more and writing notes way less. I don't know why. The stuff in this, it was just really interesting, the way everything unfolded, that I don't know, man. I was really kind of pulled in.
Yeah. I had the same situation in the fact that as I'm watching this, my notes were very small because I got sucked into the movie so much, because it feels like a murder mystery. It also feels like an episode of Supernatural, and it also kind of feels like something that I would read in a comic book about a superhero on a bicycle with a flaming skull head, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I think you're just fascinated with it, because it's, again, like no other Western I've seen before or since. But
yeah,
it does have that supernatural feel. You're right. It does definitely have some of that flavor going on.
It's also a movie that doesn't have a clear, distinct good guy. I mean, you expect Clint Eastwood to be the good guy in this movie, but he's not. I mean, he's doing things that your John Wayne kind of cowboy wouldn't do. So it kind of gives a whole different look at the Old West, and kind of gives that gritty feeling, almost like a noir kind of feel to it. Am I wrong in that?
No, I think you're right. I mean, he doesn't really have the traditional hero qualities. I mean, he straight up did do something with the female, whether it is or isn't what we said that it was or wasn't, it still wasn't right.
Right.
I mean, the things that he does with these town people, whether they deserve it or don't, it still isn't right.
Yeah. And, he does get his own little comeuppance or justice, because as I just started to mention, when he takes the job as the, quote, town gunslinger, the town gives him anything he wants. And, of course, he's going to go to each person in the town and take something from them to really, really drive that nail home. Is
that a pun, or is there no pun intended?
Yes. So he appoints the downtrodden dwarf Mordecai as the sheriff and the mayor, provides a Native American and his children with blankets and candy when the shopkeeper refuses to serve them, gets a new saddle and boots, probably like Tim had said, the shiniest saddle in town.
Oh, it was the blingy saddle, man. He totally had that when he walked out.
Yeah. Forces the saloon to serve everyone free drinks, requisitions guns for the town militia, and begins to have the townsfolk practice. So yeah, he's taking little pot shots at each little townsperson that owns a shop in town. And I just thought that was really clever, because he's like, anything I want. You can see that everybody's like a little, angry about it, especially the hotel owner. But I'll get to that in a moment or so. But what did you guys think? Do you think that this is justified deserts? Again, if he is this vengeance, a spirit of vengeance, is this justified?
I mean, yeah, because there's no innocence in this town. That's the thing about this film. You kind of hit it before. There is no good guy. Everybody's a bad guy at some level, just by different degrees. And he's going to enact his vengeance, and he's going to get his vengeance on them little by little. Basically it's going to be death by 1,000 paper cuts kind of thing. Little by little, he's just going to keep chipping away and turning them against each other. He's just, he's really working them against each other so that they're fighting, and he's not only going to take things from them, but he's going to destroy things as he goes along too, whether it's buildings or equipment or relationships or whatever. He's going to work every angle. When he's done, this town is going to be completely dysfunctional.
Yeah, the town's going to feel like hell. What about you, Joey? Any thoughts on what our stranger's doing in town right now?
They were talking out of their ass. They said, we'll give you anything. And he says, anything? And, really part of what he's requesting is for preparation.
Right.
He probably did need a new pair of boots, and he did need these guns, and he did need them to defend themselves because he didn't quite know what was coming. And so he's getting ready for anything. And they literally told him they're afraid. So
yeah,
he's making them prepared. I think he's enjoying it a bit, but I don't think he did anything too outlandish because they said anything.
I don't know that he did take one pair of boots. He took 3 pair of boots. And he takes that fancy saddle and doesn't use it and things like that. He grabs every cigar they have.
Okay. Maybe I didn't notice that.
Yeah. He kind of starts grabbing things to excess, and then he's, giving all kinds of crazy stuff to Mordecai too as they're going along. Like, he needs a gun. Let's go get him this biggest hand cannon this guy possibly can't shoot and stuff.
That was Mordecai's choice. They were handing him like the little one because they thought that's realistic.
Well, that's true. But he's eating this up the whole time too. And they're like, eventually this guy's going to be gone and then you're fucked, right? You know this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Mordecai really it's like if he's looking at the sheriff and the sheriff's acting like a fucking mascot, and that's his opinion of the mayor too, why not have a guy who looks like a fucking mascot? At least it's like nobody's lying about who's the sheriff or the mayor. If you want them to be a joke, let's have a jester be the mayor and the sheriff.
Yeah. I think that this is very telling of the town in this part right here. It really shows how self-serving they are, how selfish they are, how greedy they are. And it's only validated when we find out more about the secret of the town. One side of their mouth, they say, yeah, we can give this dude whatever he wants. I think it's like the next scene or one of the next scenes when they're talking about paying him, because he's like, yo, $1,000 a head. And they're like, yeah, sure. And then one of the dudes comes up to the guy who agreed, and he's like, yo, $1,000 a head. And he says something along the lines of promising is one thing, paying's another.
Yeah.
They thought that they could just hire him, promise the world, and then never have to pay him anything because he'll probably die fighting for us. So they're just a bunch of greedy, yellow-bellied, well, I don't know what else they say in the Westerns, but
lily-livered, no good horse thieves.
Yeah. Rick, you did mention the guys getting out, and, while the stranger's getting the townsfolk ready for this battle, Bridges and the Carlins are released from prison, and they must walk back from the Territorial prison as their horses were fed to them during their stay. And I thought, man, that was just cold. But if you think about it, they had to ply them with some kind of food while they're in prison. I doubt that they have, regular shipments of cattle coming in. So use what you got. And I just thought that, man, that's cold.
I mean, better than having them starve.
That's true.
I mean, they're criminals, and they probably should have hung them. I don't know. That's what they did back then, I think, ain't it?
I don't know what the territorial laws were back then, but, that theft of the ingot is definitely suspect, because even the sheriff, when he's talking to the stranger about it, he's like, oh yeah, those guys, they stole an ingot and they had it hid under their floorboards. And I think even the stranger mentioned, isn't that a little convenient?
Yeah, because here they are doing almost like the same thing with this dude, right? This mysterious stranger saying they're going to promise him one thing and then basically not deliver on once the deed is done. So probably something similar to that happened.
Right. I do want to go back on something real quick. So Tim had mentioned how Mordecai and the hotel manager's wife, Sarah, are kind of like the only decent people in town. When we see Sarah, we see little glimpses of her here and there, looking at the stranger. When you're watching this, do you guys get the opinion that Sarah might know something or suspect something by the way that she looks at the stranger?
I think she knows something's up because she makes that comment like, you need to be careful because you make people nervous. And he makes that comment like they're only nervous because about the things that they know about themselves. She's kind of clued into it, even though I don't think she really understands. But she still is at some level cognizant of who he is and what he represents.
Oh, no, man. No, I don't know. I don't buy it, man. She was mean mugging him the whole time. She was talking nonsense, being like, oh, why you being like this? Blah, 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 blah. she basically was defending the townspeople for acting like a bunch of assholes and then being like, you're an asshole, without registering that they're even worse. So, and when you say that there's really not any good people in the town, I don't know, man. The Indians, or I should say the Native Americans and the Mexicans seem pretty cool to me.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Even Mordecai seemed okay.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, what could he do with that flashback? He was watching from underneath the fucking building, man.
I actually even felt really bad for the Mexican constructor, or like as they were carpenters.
Yeah.
Because like, hey, can we come to your siesta? He's like, no.
No, yeah.
It's like, wow, man, that was real dicky of you.
I mean, but really it was the opposite of that, right? Because he knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, I know, but it's just at the time you're like, man, that was harsh.
I'm sure that's what they were thinking. They're like, what the hell, bro?
Yeah, and since you guys brought up the two Mexicans, I think it's rather neat that there's another tick against the hotel owner, because when the stranger asked the two Mexicans to build picnic tables for this fiesta, he's like, well, just take the wood from over there. And they start stripping the barn away, and it upsets the hotel owner. And we kind of see that there's a little confrontation between the hotel owner and the stranger. The stranger basically pisses him off, and he goes and talks to the true guy that kind of runs the town. He wasn't the town mayor, but he's like the
mine manager.
I believe his name was David. No,
Dave Drake.
Yes, Drake,
proprietor of the mine or the mining company.
Yeah. What do you guys think of Drake and his role in the whole town?
I think they're all weasels. I mean, at some level or another, they're all spineless weasels. They just got greed in their hearts, but they don't have the fortitude to enact their own, I don't want to say justice, but to perpetrate the things that they need to do to reach their ends, or however you want to, say that. They've got a plan, but they don't have the will to want to do it themselves. So they try to outsource the uglier parts of their endeavors to people.
Right.
And then that just goes poorly for them. And so they have to keep hiring like bad guy after bad guy after bad guy to kind of help achieve their goals. They just kind of keep digging themselves a deeper hole little by little, and then they get together and they act all tough. None of them are good with a gun. So I don't know what they're thinking. So I don't know. But yeah, they're just a bunch of spineless weasels. They talk a big game, but they don't really have any testosterone to take care of it.
Yeah, and I think you get that right away from the get-go, too. Who in their right mind is going to just regardless of whether or not that lady is a prostitute, they were just waiting, man. No one did nothing. No one got up. Mordecai was freaking watching, bro.
Well, they even tell her when she complains, she's like, oh, well, nobody did anything. And you're just making a big deal out of nothing. Yeah, they just way downplay it.
Yeah. Yeah. So if they had a shred of decency, then we would have seen it, and they don't. Yeah. That's why we haven't.
Well, while all this is going on, our ex-cons, they have to hightail it out of the territorial prison. And of course, they run across a group of cowboys camping, and they kill them and take their horses. That evening, the stranger orders the hotel owners, Lewis and Sarah Belding, and all the other guests to vacate the premises, leaving himself as its sole occupant. He then invites Callie to join him for dinner at the hotel. Callie and several men, including Morgan Allen, decide to kill the stranger. After sleeping with him in his room, Callie slips out as the men enter. As they unknowingly beat a dummy in the bed, the stranger tosses a stick of dynamite into the room, destroying most of the hotel, killing 2 men. He then shoots 2 of his attackers dead outside as Morgan flees wounded. I think it's rather telling of Callie's character that after everything that happened in the barn, she just willingly goes to dinner with the stranger. And this kind of really affirms for me that she is not a woman of reputable business practices, to say the least.
Nowadays, they say that a woman like that is for the streets.
There you go. Because she's friendly with Morgan. We're going to run through conversations later on. We find out she was friendly with one of the gunslingers that was in prison.
At Bridges.
Yes, Bridges. And she's somewhat friendly with the stranger. Definitely her character is called into question here.
She's the town's only fangirl.
There you go. And I also like that, again, he's getting revenge on more of the townspeople, because whereas they tried to kill him, his immediate response was, let's blow something up. And he throws a stick of dynamite in the room and blows up the top half of the hotel. That was pretty slick. What do you think, Joey? You've been kind of quiet this entire time.
Well, I mean, Callie's not a good person, but no means no regardless. You can be a filthy slut and a whore and you could still be raped. So I'm going to stand by that. If this was the only scene where she kind of like turns on somebody, I would think like, you know, it's like, okay, well, this is the guy who raped you. And the second, you know, instance is, you know, regardless that it was consensual, the first one wasn't. Another example you could see is in the movie The Watchmen. So you got, God, what is his name?
The comedian
the comedian played by
Henry Dean Morgan.
Yeah. He has a moment with a character and he gets interrupted by one of his fellow superheroes. And, but later that same woman decides to consensually have a relationship with him. So, I mean, I'm not saying that can't happen. I'm just saying it's fucking weird. And some of that could be psychological. So it's like, to them, it's like well, if they consent to it now, it's like they're making the first time okay or something like that in their mind. And it's some big mind fuck on the victim.
Right.
And it's just sad. Anywho, these guys fucking double crossing him is shady as shit. And I think if they hadn't done that, I think things would have played out a lot different later in the movie. And the guys who were just going to kill him in his sleep got what they fucking deserve. The hotel guy, I love the look the hotel guy gets when he doesn't realize the strangers in the hotel, and he's like, well, they told me they weren't gonna mess up the home. And then he just gets stared down. It's like, oh, you knew they were coming. You did fucking nothing.
You're right.
Well, it's like, you know, I'm almost surprised he didn't get gunned down right there. But at the same time, it's like, you know, what the hell was that pussy gonna do?
Well, that, you know, he can't shoot the guy that's gonna go dig the graves for the three men.
The hotel guy had to dig the graves?
Yeah, because he
was in on it.
Stranger standing there, and he's like, you know, grab a shovel. You go dig the graves for these guys.
I didn't pick up on that. I'm sorry.
I enjoyed the fact afterwards where he's like, well, you know, the wife starts laying into him and stuff, and she's like, well, I don't know where you're going to stay now. And he's like, gives her that look, and she's like, no.
Yeah.
Yep, that's what's happening. So,
and then he drags her kicking and screaming. So you think that the same situation is going to happen again to this woman as it did in the barn, but not the way you think.
Kind of, but not really again. And she quickly succumbs to his charms, if you will, or lack thereof.
Yeah.
And so he did it again. This is another paper cut. He's sticking it to the, you know, basically the hotel owner. Mm-hmm. Not only did I blow the entire top of your hotel apart, but now I'm going to go take your room. I'm going to take your wife, and then she's going to leave you the next day. And she let it happen. I mean, and that's why I think she's a little clued into who he is. I really enjoyed after that. Preacher is like, oh, well, you can't just throw these people out into the street. He's like, they're our brothers and sisters. He's like, they're not mine. Oh, no, they're all our brothers and sisters. He's like, they're your brothers and sisters. He's like, yeah. He goes, then you'll have no problem putting them up.
Yep.
But he's like, okay, yeah, you can all stay with me at normal hotel rates. And he gives him that look like, you piece of shit. Now, and I don't know about you guys, but that guy, he's the one thing that pulled me out of this movie a little bit. Because do you remember his other big role in life? Because you've seen him before, and he's, again, like Joey says, he's that guy in that thing.
Yeah.
But there's one role that he plays that sticks out for me all the time, and as soon as I see him, I see this guy now, completely pulls me out of any movie I see him in.
I'm drawing a blank as like where I've seen him before.
He is Exidor from Mork and Mindy.
Mork and Mindy, yeah.
Oh,
shit.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, he's the crazy guy. So I just like, it's that dude, you know. Yeah, it kind of pulled me out a little bit because he's just kind of a goofball anytime you see him, you know, but he's really over the top in that one. But yeah, I just love that whole interaction between him and the preacher.
You know, since you brought up the preacher, there's one thing that I kind of thought about the preacher. So looking at him, he looks like a younger version of the preacher from Poltergeist 2. And so I got thinking, I'm like, what if this is like in the same cinematic universe? What if this preacher winds up like leaving here and basically becomes the preacher for Poltergeist 2?
He starts a cult that's ultimately doomed.
Yeah. Like he learns something. He learns a lesson in life.
I'll take it.
Well, I feel like, doesn't he look a little bit like the preacher that was in Blazing Saddles a little bit too?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's kind of got that demeanor in this.
There was a guy from Blazing Saddles in this. The guy that wears the bolo hat.
Yes, Higgins. I totally forgot to mention him. I'm like, yeah, he's the
He's the leather goods guy.
Yeah, you got a cinematic universe forming right here. Before we get a little too much further, what did you guys think of kind of our main antagonists, Bridges and the Carlin brothers? Because one of those brothers looks familiar. He looks like somebody that I've seen before too, and I couldn't quite place him.
Anthony James Cole Carlin.
Yeah.
I think maybe he shows up in a lot of Westerns.
Okay.
Again, he might be another one of those guys, that guy in That Thing kind of deal.
Gotcha.
Wait, you guys are not talking about Jeffrey Lewis?
No. One of the Carlin brothers, the guy that looks more like a Mexican guy. He looks a little bit like the preacher. Same kind of like five head. Yeah, there's a lot of actors that look like other actors in this movie. But Rick, you did mention the gentleman's name, Jeffrey Lewis, and I gotta say, I like him. Obviously, he's the father of the famous Lewis actors. Juliette Lewis being the biggest one out of them. He's got a face that just you see it and you're like, yeah. And he's usually playing a character that's kind of like dumb looking, but it really works here. I mean, he does a really good bad guy.
Yeah, man, I'm looking to see what other stuff he's in because I know I've seen him in like a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, he shows up in a lot of stuff over the years. He's another one of those. He's the guy from The Thing, but I mean, he was like Walker, Texas Ranger. I think he was in Starsky and Hutch, and
yeah, he's a good working character actor.
Yeah, he was in Tango and Cash. I think if I remember correctly, you see him pop up in a lot of TV series. I think he was on the X-Files and
Double Impact.
Yeah, he's never the main guy for the most part, but you see him enough that you're familiar with him. And then once you remember that he's Juliette Lewis's father, then you're always like, oh, look, it's Juliette Lewis's father. Even if you can't remember his name, you just kind of, oh yeah, I know who that guy is kind of thing. But
yeah.
I think he shows up in a lot of TV series as one-offs here and there, nothing consistent. He's in, I think, like 3 or 4 other movies with Eastwood, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. The next morning, Sarah tells the stranger that Duncan cannot rest in peace because the town buried him in an unmarked grave. She then tells her husband that she has had enough of the town and is leaving him. We also learn the truth about Lago's mine. To keep the townspeople busy, the stranger orders every building in town painted blood red. He then rides out of town without explanation, following the wounded Morgan. Before he leaves, he paints over the town sign with the word hell. What do you think of how the stranger has been treating the townspeople and this big reveal? I mean, we finally understand why the townspeople are all secretive because we find out that the mine is basically using government land, which is a huge, huge issue.
Well, basically, we're starting to learn that the death of the marshal was a murder for hire. Did they want him to be whipped to death? Probably not. They just wanted him shut up because he was going to tell on them. And to be honest, it would have got figured out later. If anything, belongs to the government, they're going to come and take it.
Right.
There's a very real recent old gold story that made the rounds where this guy didn't own the land, but he found, using whatever utilities, it's like, there's a massive metal here. And this might be old Civil War gold. He's trying to get something like a deal worked out. And then in the middle of the night, there's all these trucks that come in, and the federal government came and excavated the gold and just took off with it in these big trucks and then never talked to him again. But at the end of the day, it was government gold back during the Civil War, and they just reclaimed it. But they let this, civilian treasure hunter do all the fucking work and get none of the credit.
Right.
So yeah, they would have eventually lost the mine, but essentially the only people that would have made out with like a bandit is anybody who like exhausted the resources of the mine and then get the fuck out of there. Meanwhile, the rest of the town built up around the mine to support the mine, and they had businesses and shit like that. But it was, I guess, no matter who owns it, like their businesses are eventually, like old mining towns, they're gonna go out of business once the mine dries up.
Right.
So it's really stupid. I feel like it was a hit, and I don't think everybody was in on it. But they all did do nothing. And at the end of the day, the major conspirators are all dead, and the people who just stood by and did nothing are kind of, left with a fucked up town.
So I don't think that it was that most of them didn't have a hand in it, because when they had their little council meeting, it seemed like everyone wanted to hire this stranger that they didn't know shit about. They only knew that he was a skilled gunfighter to act as a body bag for them, because They knew that if they didn't have anyone, the 3 prisoners would have got out, rolled over to them, and then killed everyone and took the money that was illegally taken, that it pretty much didn't exist as far as the government goes.
Right.
So how can you face charges for stealing illegal money? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, how about you, Tim? What do you think of the reveal about the town of Lago and their mine?
I think by the time the reveal's there, I fully understood that Clint Eastwood is the sheriff. I mean, and now he's going to get his pound of flesh out of these people, like I said, one way or the other. And again, even if these people aren't directly involved, they passively allowed this to happen because they're a small knit community. I mean, it's a small town. We established that in the beginning, and it's in all their best interest to not expose this mine, let the government know that they're pulling out gold. And it could have been a huge deposit. I mean, it could have been well worth it. You know, if it's a huge strike, it could be quite a while. And there could be a lot of gold that gets pulled out between now and when the government gets there. Plus, this isn't, modern day government. This is back in the old West. So the government's stretched pretty thin. They are not patrolling and policing all this land that they own because we're still, in the great expanse here of trying to get everybody, all out to the West, taking up land and populating, the United States as during the Great Expansion. So I think they could have got away with it for a very long time, even to the point when, they could have just completely cleaned that mine out before the government ever knew what was happening. Joey's right. The town would have eventually dried up, but there was a long time between that point to, the point where they're at right now.
Oh yeah. They would probably had like a good 50 years if it was a solid mine.
Because if any one of those people were not happy with what would happen, they would have left, found the law, and brought them back.
Yeah.
But nobody did, which is why I believe firmly all of them had decided this is in our best interest to keep our mouths shut because we're all going to profit from this. And that damn sheriff was going to wreck it for us all. Again, they're just a bunch of greedy little weasels, and eliminating one man to ensure everybody's financial stability is a small price to pay. Up until you realize that the guys you hired to do it are gonna, basically once the sheriff was out of the picture, then they I think they make a comment where they kind of said they started kind of taking over the town a little bit.
Yeah,
they started getting out of hand, and not one of them has the ability to stand up against one guy, let alone 3. So they wait till they get all drunk and then they arrest them and send them off to the Territorial prison, probably hoping that they would just die in prison. And then they don't. They're like, well, shit, that didn't work out well. Now we're going to, we got to pay the piper here unless we can hire another group of guys, which is, like I said, they're just digging themselves deeper all the time because they just keep hiring one bad group of guys after another.
Yeah.
And then, this guy in this pale horse rides into town, eliminates their only out, and they're forced to deal with him. And again, we now know what his motivation is to make these people's lives absolutely as miserable as possible.
Yeah. He gets one more revenge too, because the stranger finds Bridges and the Carlins, who have just finished off Morgan, and the stranger harasses them with dynamite and rifle fire, and basically leads the outlaws to believe that the townspeople are responsible for attacking them while they're, trying to get their pound of flesh out of Morgan. Our stranger returns to Lago and quickly inspects the preparations. The entire town is now painted red. The men are now armed on the rooftops. Picnic tables are laden with food and drink. And a big "Welcome Home, Boys" banner is presented in the entrance to the town. As he looks around and inspects anything, he just silently departs again. What I thought was really cool is there's a little bit of foreshadowing in the fact that when he was walking around the town earlier in the movie, he told the sheriff, hey, if you just put guys here and here and here in the town, you guys could solve this problem yourself. And he kind of gave them the opportunity to train and practice. So now here they are. They're about to do the exact thing that the stranger said is, you guys could easily take these guys out by standing on top of that rooftop and this rooftop. And that I thought was really clever for the stranger to kind of set all this up, get these parts in motion. I thought that was kind of clever. And then of course the outlaws arrive and they come into town. They start whooping and hollering and doing the old number 5, as they would say in Blazing Saddles.
I would probably say that I was definitely not expecting for that to happen. I thought there was really going to be something else going on, but instead, those dudes, they did not at all have any good execution, man. Like, really bad. Those dudes are falling off of the roof left and right. The one dude landed square on his back, man.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, bro. But I thought it was super cool. The stranger looked like left out. Oh, yeah, you guys are good. Take care of it. Peace. See you guys later. You're not going to screw me. I'm going to screw you. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the other thing I thought is that did he also leave town because it was his idea of either getting revenge or seeing if they were self-sufficient? You know, kind of ambiguous. I felt.
No, you know what? Because they left the sheriff to be able to defend the town, as in that's the job of the sheriff to defend the town. So then I think that he, like Tim had mentioned a few times, that this character had some supernatural abilities. And I think in general, I think he kind of knew what was inside the heart and the intention of each of the characters here in the town or whatever. And when he understood that these town people were really out just to screw him. They had no intention of keeping their word, giving him whatever the deal was. So then he was like, look, the deal's off. You guys are not going to honor the deal, so I'm not going to honor the deal. You can't screw me because I know exactly what you're trying to do. So because of that, he let them reap what they're sowing. Later, he comes back because he's got a score to settle himself.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with the townspeople. They're gonna figure out what they're gonna figure out on their own.
Yeah.
And they got it coming from multiple directions because they screwed the sheriff, they screwed the outlaws, and it seems like they're basically everyone who they get to try to, like Tim says, try to weasel their way out of some sort of situation. Everyone along the way gets screwed by them. So they got it coming.
Well, shoot, and even quote unquote man with money in the town, he gets gunned down right there in the lake or the river. A little bit of some religious undertones, especially the fact that the entire town now looks like hell. I gotta say that was pretty clever. What did you think of that, Tim?
I just love this whole scene. I mean, this whole ending. I mean, from the get go. I mean, it just starts off with the proverbial stirring up the hornet's nest. Him showing up where those guys are kind of holed up and just shooting at him, throwing dynamite. And he's moving with incredible speed. I mean, he's moving from area to area, which leads me to believe this dude's got some supernatural because he's moving way faster than I think anybody can along those hills and stuff to just make it seem like he's coming from everywhere kind of thing. So I love that he's going to agitate these guys. He's going to get them amped up because they're already angry and they're coming in for the kill. And he's going to make sure they are just mad as hell when they get there. So I love that. And I love how he's presented the town to them. Really, there's no need for them to paint the town or anything like that for these guys coming. He's doing that for his own amusement because, you know, it's his message to the town that they never got. I'm going to turn your town into hell.
Right.
You know, because that's really what his goal is. He kind of upheld his end of the deal. I mean, he's like, I'm going to teach you guys how to take care of yourself, more or less. And they're piss poor at it, you know.
Right.
They can't hit the side of a barn with a shotgun, almost literally. And he never outright said he's going to kill these guys for him. He didn't say that. You know, he just said, I'm going to form this militia, get you guys ready, whatever. As soon as it really comes time and these guys are heading into town, he just gets on his horse and rides away. And they're just like, where are you going? And they didn't really have time to even contemplate it for the most part because they've got to get ready.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of his plan. He's like, I've given you guys what you need. And if you can't defend yourself, that's not my problem. And I think what he really wants ultimately is the main conspirators, the guys who really enacted the plan against him as the sheriff, get what they have coming.
Right.
And they do. Every one of them gets killed in some horrible way. And then once the main conspirators are dispatched, then he kind of rides back into town and he takes care of the guys that killed him. And then, you know, and then he leaves the rest of the town, as he says, you know, well, what do we do after? Well, now you're going to live with it. So, you know, he's messed up their whole town. He's turned them against each other. He's literally turned it into hell. He's made sure that the people who wronged him were killed and the people that killed him are dead by his hand. And now they have to live with all of this for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Dude, it's a great flippin' ending.
Yeah, and I really liked the ending when he gets his final revenge because, you know, Bridges sets the town on fire, and you get to see this whole sequence where he uses the bullwhip to bring one of the Carlin brothers out, and the fact that he like whips the one guy to death and then throws the whip back into the saloon, and everyone's just staring at the whip because they know They know what this is about. Just the silhouette shot of him with all that fire going on around him, that was like chef's kiss. Phenomenal shot.
Yeah.
Every time I watch this movie, those are the scenes that I'm looking forward to.
It's awesome because you're like, well, why aren't they going to go out there and rescue their buddy? But it's because they're gripped with fear.
Yeah.
Because as you said, they hear that whip going and they know what's happening and they are freaked the fuck out. They're like, oh, holy shit. Like, this is not right.
Yeah. And I also think that it's another point towards Mordecai, because you can tell that throughout this entire movie, Mordecai feels bad for what happened to Jim Duncan. And I think he especially feels bad that he wasn't able to do something about it, but he gets his opportunity to get his own justice for what happened to Jim Duncan when Lewis Belding takes aim with a shotgun at the stranger's back. But it's actually Mordecai that shoots the hotel owner, Lewis. And I think that this is very much a
redeeming moment.
Yes, redeeming moment. Sorry, I was having a middle-aged moment there.
It's all right. We all got to reach for that one elusive word every once in a while.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's fitting that it was the gun that he got from the little shopping spree that what's his name got for him, right?
Yeah.
So that's definitely pretty fitting that all that happened in the sequence that it did, and yeah.
Well, isn't he the one that punches Mordecai in the face too, like earlier?
Yep.
Yeah, he totally had that coming.
Atonement, vengeance, and redemption, all for one character right there. Joey, you have any thoughts?
I mean, they're alluding to some stuff because it's like, how did he know about the whips? I don't think that was explicitly told to him. I don't think they told him about. I don't think anybody verbally told him about that the murder of the marshal at all. I think they just said that those guys went to jail for it's what it sounded like they planted some gold on him or something. Anywho, do you think this movie was the inspiration for The Wraith? Because that's another movie where the characters played by a different actor, they die, and then the guy that comes back to, avenge himself doesn't look like the same fucking person. It's played by a different actor.
I know we haven't dealt out bonus points in a long time, but I kind of want to give you some bonus points for bringing up a 1980s Charlie Sheen movie back when Charlie Sheen was young.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Charlie Sheen plays, the Wraith, but he doesn't play the guy in the flashback sequences.
Right.
It's just somebody else with dark hair. And that always bothered me, and that bothers me in this movie. And I think it's kind of a detriment. It's it's a negative quality of both films. Both of them really do have their moments, but neither of them, you could say, is a masterpiece.
Right.
They're popcorn films.
Well, isn't it the same thing for Crow, too? Isn't Brandon Lee's character in The Crow slightly different looking than the actual guy that gets killed, too?
No.
Or it's just a face paint?
They had to film some of those scenes with a body double, and they shoot around it so you don't see his face. And so that's a coincidence because he was literally dead. And so they couldn't go back and shoot some of their insert shots that they wanted to do.
Right. And if you folks want to find out more about what Tim and I think of The Crow, go check out MCU's Bleeding Edge, where Tim and I talked about The Crow back a year ago. So go to your YouTube search and check it out.
Hey, Dungeon Master was in on that one too, bro.
Right. I'm sorry. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's a super good episode.
Well, let's bring the Crow back around to a grave, and let's
get back to our dead cowboy. Right?
Yeah, let's wrap up this review here with the next morning. Sarah loads a wagon to head out of town. The stranger rides past Mordecai in the cemetery. Mordecai comments that he never did know the stranger's real name, to which the stranger replies, "Yes, you do." Mordecai eyes widen as the stranger rides off into the desert. Mordecai stands beside the tombstone he has just finished engraving. Marshal Jim Duncan, rest in peace. After riding deeper into the desert, the stranger gradually vanishes into the heat waves. So guys, what do you think of the end of this movie? Do we finally get the verification that our stranger is Jim Duncan? I say yes. And I thought it was really cool the way that they decided to end the movie with that cool effect of him disappearing into the heat.
Yeah, definitely. And it is the vengeful spirit of Jim Duncan, without a doubt. I mean, I think that there was a little bit of misdirection. Maybe it was purposefully done, or like I said earlier, maybe it was done because of differences of opinion during production. But either way, by the end, it's pretty undisputable. I don't know how you could justify that it's not Jim Duncan by the story. I mean, you might be able to make a justification based on production, but not on the story.
Right.
Well, I think it ties up real nicely because this is going to take a couple points that we've talked about now. Because if you remember earlier, Sarah Belding makes a comment. She says, listen, they say the dead don't rest without a mark of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
So she clearly says that, which helps affirm what we were saying before, that she's a little in the know. She's got some kind of vibe that, look, this is the ghost of the sheriff. I think she knows. Then as we see him leaving town, he stops and says that to Mordecai, and Mordecai's putting the last of his name onto that tombstone. He just fades out because now his soul's at rest. I mean, partly because he's got his vengeance, but the other half is he now has a proper marker above his grave. So
right.
I think it ties up the supernatural aspect of this film quite nicely. It puts all the pieces together. It kind of answers some of the questions that we have discussed here. And as Rick has said, I agree with him 100%. There's no way that you do not think that this is not the sheriff. It absolutely 100%. In my mind, no questions asked. That was the sheriff, come back to enact his vengeance for a wrongful death.
Definitely. What about you, Joey? Any final thoughts on our stranger and the way this movie just wraps up?
I think this movie could have really used a deleted scene. And with AI, as a fan, I could make this happen. But I really would have liked something, maybe Sarah, I think that was her name, the wife of the hotel owner, would have kind of like filled in the stranger a little bit with some more information and saying, these guys murdered the previous, marshal, sheriff, whatever. And goes, she could just be her opinion. She's like, I think they wanted him dead. And then have him ask a question, it's like, did the sheriff, did the marshal, did he have any family? And have her say something like, no, he wasn't married. He didn't have any kids, but he talked about a brother, but he said he hadn't seen him in many years. And then at the end, it would have made more sense when he says, you do know my name, because his name's Duncan as well.
Right.
And he rode into town to find out what happened to his brother because he hadn't heard from him in a long time. And this all took place a year ago. Maybe his brother is used to writing him a letter every fucking month. I don't know. I think that would have made a lot more sense. And then you wouldn't have people saying, oh, he's the spirit of vengeance or he's resurrected, but he looks different and he rapes women. And it's just like, what the fuck? It's like, what the fuck am I watching? It's like, it would have made more sense if he just had an asshole brother and
I don't know.
And he lost touch with him and he knew something was wrong because he didn't get his letter. And then he rode into town and figured out what happened to him and he fucked them up.
I think the only reason why it seems as though it's the brother is because they used a stunt double to get beat up with bullwhips. If they would have used Clint Eastwood to get beat up with bullwhips, there would be no mistake.
And then everybody would have recognized him too.
Yeah.
Even with scars on his face.
Yeah.
But then they buried him.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I'm sure Clint Eastwood didn't want to get beat up with a bunch of bullwhips.
But I think it being ambiguous like this, I think it adds a little something to it. I don't think it needs to be spelled out. I mean, I'm kind of surprised, Joy, that you want it so clearly defined. Not only that, but it's kind of brilliant because how many people walked out of the theater like the four of us and are like, dude, what do you think? Like, it opens up that conversation and makes it interesting. And you go to work and you're like, dude, I just seen this really fucked up Western the other day. And it's all kinds of messed up. Like, let me tell you what it was about. And somebody's like, well, shit, I got to go see that thing because this sounds dark and interesting, So I think it was kind of well played out. And sometimes it's nice not to have everything just spelled out and it's just open-ended enough that it can, basically garner a conversation like we're having now. Like, is it not? Like, clearly, Rick and I think it is. Joey's not so sure because he wants it far more clearly defined. You want that closure that it just didn't give you, so.
I feel like it did give me closure. I think that's what I like about this movie is that, we get the revenge, we get the comeuppance for all the townspeople. I mean, it's both a supernatural ending as well as a happy ending, but there's no clear, good guys. There's just something about this movie that I really, really enjoyed about this. And I like the way they ended this. I think it's really cool. I like the ambiguous ending. Like you said, more for your mind to fill in the blanks and to talk about.
Kind of like that one movie, Inception. I mean, I can go on and on talking about Inception, but that's like another one where at the very end, it's kind of like a little bit. I mean, is it not? Like, what's really happening by the end and stuff? So I can get that, but I don't know if it's really that ambiguous in this one. It is a little bit, but I don't know. I guess it's ambiguous enough for us to, like you said, Tim, talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty smart to do it that way, but yeah, I just like that. It still leaves a little bit open to question, but not really. I mean, but clearly, you know, I've decided that it is. Joey's like, I'm not so sure. Like, I still think it could be the brothers. So, you know, it really served its purpose. It left the conversation open and the debate to go on for, you know, decades and decades to come.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it could have been a better movie. You got, you know, one brother's on one side of the law, the other brother's, you know, a criminal and outlaw, but they still keep in touch at a distance and they live separate lives. And then you have, you know, I think there's a different movie you could make.
Yeah, it's called the Brothers Grimsby's.
Okay. That's a funny movie. And it's just, and I think Clint Eastwood felt the same way. I think he's like, you know, I think, we can be more obvious that this character's back from the dead and we can actually make him more heroic and have an amalgamation of some characters. And he's a preacher and he rides a pale horse and it's called Pale Rider. And, it's a better movie.
Gotcha.
Well, and those, like you said, those movies do have a lot of similarity. I mean, they closely match each other.
And Clint Eastwood directed both of them.
Yeah.
He also he's not credited with writing Pale Rider, but he helped write it as well.
Gotcha. All right. Well, speaking of is or isn't, you know, we all had that limited amount of time on this earth. Is this worth taking time off of our death clock to watch this film? Tim, what do you think? Is it worth taking the hour and 45 minutes off of our death clock?
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, for sure. I can't think of a Clint Eastwood Western that I wouldn't recommend to anybody. Maybe Paint Your Wagon. If you don't want a bunch of songs in your Western, that might be the one I'd say you want to skip. But yeah, I mean, this is a good one. And this is going to be like no other Western you're ever going to see. It's dark. It's gritty. There's no good guys. And it's, you know, apparently going to spark some debate between you and whoever else is in the room when you watch it. So it is definitely worth your death clock. And I'm going to guess you're probably going to watch this several times before you keel over dead.
Nice. Yes. What about you, Rick? What do you think?
I think I'm a little bit up on the air in this one. When I first watched it, I was like, you know what? It's an all right movie. And the real question is, like you said, is it worth your death clock? You know, I mean, there's only so much time you have on this planet. I don't know if I necessarily would 100% endorse this one. And usually there's a caveat where I can say, hey, look, if you're into this type of movie, then definitely you could watch it. But because it's not fully situated inside of one singular genre, it's hard to say that it's totally a Western. It's hard to say that it's totally a horror, suspense, thriller type of movie. Then it really kind of sits in a very strange location as a movie. I think it's good. I think that for people who really want to try something out that's a little bit new, I think that it could be up your alley. You know, it's something that's a little bit different, something that's doesn't really fit the more normal tastes that people have when they take a look and sink their teeth into a movie. And I would say, yeah, this is probably for you if you find that you like things that are a little bit strange, mysterious.
Okay. Well, how about you, Joey? What do you think? Is it worth taking time off that death clock?
If it wasn't for Billy Curtis, I would say it would not be worth time off your death clock. There's some real good one-liners in here. I love the, you're going to look silly with that knife up your ass. That was a great line. I mean, you know me, I got a soft spot in my heart for little people. And I love the name Mordecai. It'll come up again in Children of the Corn, of course. So I'm going to say it is worth it. But it's a one watcher. I was like, if you want to do repeat watches, watch Pale Rider. It's a better movie.
Gotcha. Okay. As for myself, I'm going to say yes, most definitely. This is a captured moment in time, as it's one of Clint Eastwood's early directorial films. It highlights what the West was really like. It made the West feel dirty and gritty. This is a story of revenge, and not only the physical perpetrators, but also the people that we're complacent to a crime. It is probably by far my favorite Clint Eastwood Western film. Maybe next to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. But yes, I would definitely say that this is worth taking time off of your death clock. All right, folks. Well, feedback. We'd love to hear from you. So please leave us some feedback. You can email our show at manreviewpodcast@gmail.com and have your email read right here on the show, or leave a comment on YouTube or Spotify, and we'll discuss it here too as well. And gentlemen, believe it or not, we do have some feedback that I want to bring to your attention. We received some comments on some of our shorts, particularly I almost said Sleepless in Seattle, Silence of the Lambs.
What? Sleepless in Seattle? What podcast are you doing, Matt? Are you moonlighting?
I like it. If it's in the book, I will fucking review it. And then Must Love Dogs and You've Got Mail.
I'm more Joe versus the volcano, but
shit, I'll never watch that film ever again.
Feedback. I wanted to point out Silence of the Lambs. We have a short, got a few comments on it, particularly this one. Agent Starling is out interviewing people, and she discovers Buffalo Bill's house. And a Timon SE said that Starling went to Jack Gordon's house to interview the victim's friends. Crawford went with a team to James Gumm's house, which was vacant, where he realizes Gumm tricked them. Although I agree she should have been partnered up, she was only going to ask questions to the victim's friends and families, as she was doing during the entire film alone. So he's clearly pointing out that the whole reason why she went there was because the entire movie she's been alone. What do you guys think of that?
Well, first, I applaud you on your name, Tim. And second, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's a murder case. I mean, it's a serial murder case. You just don't go out alone. I mean, as I think I pointed out in the actual podcast, that's just, you don't do that. You just don't do it, period, let alone send out a trainee like that. So she should have had a party all the way through, and she should have never even been going down to see Lecter by herself. Even if she went to talk to Lecter by herself, she should have had somebody else there with her at all times that would have, went with her, maybe been like, okay, I'll be right down here while you go talk to him or whatever. So it's just not standard protocol. But as Joyce pointed out, if people did smart things in films and all the things that you think they should be doing, then there wouldn't be films and TV series, because that's what builds the plot and the suspense and tension and all these is dumb things that people do.
I think the biggest problem with that particular scene was that she like straight up played cowboy with his ass, man. Like, she could have been smoother and been like, oh, thanks for the card. Because that's the last thing that happened. Oh, here's that card with the number that she was looking for. She could have just been like, oh, fantastic. If you think of anything else, just, here's my card. Let me know, blah, 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 blah. Be cool about it. Leave out the fucking door. Get back up. And then, do the job the right way. But, I don't know.
I don't know, man, because have you ever been in one of those situations where you're talking to somebody about it, whether it be somebody you know or a stranger or whatever, and something gets said, and all of a sudden there's that understanding in the room. Like, everybody all of a sudden has this crystal clarity, and it becomes really weird and awkward, and everybody knows it. I think that's what happened there. I don't think there was any pulling that off.
You know that I know that you know that I know.
Right.
Yeah. So I think the jig was up. I think her body language gave it away. She figured it out. There was no way of hiding that. He picked up on it like an animal. It's an animal that senses fear. They know when you're scared, and that's when they're going to attack, kind of thing.
Maybe.
Dude, he picked up on that 100%. He's like, she figured it out. I got to pounce.
I could get that, but again, she should have been cooler. If that literally was what she felt was happening, she should have been cooler about it, held her emotion. I mean, hey, I guess it happens to everyone. If I remember correctly, it even happened in Star Wars when Darth Vader says that Luke's feelings give away. Sister, you have a twin sister, so it happens to everyone.
Rick, I have not confronted a whole lot of people who skin other people, alive in my life. So I'm going to say that all of us in this room are maybe inexperienced with that moment. So I think if I knew somebody was, a serial killer that liked to skin people alive, I'm not sure I'm keeping my shit together either.
Yeah, but she had been having conversations with the craziest serial killer alive. She'd been having one-on-one conversations.
She's behind plexiglass, man. Those were controlled conversations, not this dude's like 10 feet away from me and completely ready to pounce. So it's like meeting up with a grizzly bear out in the woods. You're like, oh, well, I've defecated myself. He knows I'm scared and I'm about to be eaten alive and found in his stomach of a bear later, kind of thing.
You just got to be cool, like, what's his name in Revenant?
DiCaprio?
Yeah.
You just got to be cool, man.
Well, I don't think he was cool. I think he was gnawed up, and the Bears was like, you know what? This guy's a little tough. I'm done with him. I think it was just I don't think cool saved him in that one. I think it was just the bear got bored.
Yeah.
I think the lesson is whether you're investigating a serial killer, meeting up for a transaction across Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, or perhaps meeting a date at a local rest area, always bring a buddy.
Yeah, the buddy system. Yeah, we learned that in kindergarten. There was a reason for it, right? So there you go, Tim. I hope we've answered that question in the longest way possible, or at least, commented on your comment to your satisfaction.
Yes. So thank you. And listener, feel free to leave us comments as well. We will be more than happy to discuss it here on the show. All right, gentlemen, now that we've delved into High Plains Drifter, what else are you watching that is worth sharing? Tim, what's new?
I have ventured into Rick's area of expertise.
What?
And I have watched the entire Castlevania anime, all 4 seasons of it. And man, it's fucking outstanding. It's basically based off the video game, as you know, and this one's based off of Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse. Dude, it is 4 seasons of absolute awesomeness. It is really, really well done. And I got to recommend it to anybody. I'm sorry, Rick, it didn't have a long name. And I should have probably come up with one, guy whose family has been wiped out is going to whip it and whip it good.
The funny thing is I watched the first season of that and a little bit into the second season. And then I don't know, for whatever reason, I don't know if I was just watching it at the wrong time of day and just falling asleep or something, but I couldn't get into it.
Huh.
And you are like the third person who's told me that this thing is like really, really good. So I think that perhaps it's deserving of another go around.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
I mean, it's no, what is that one? Delicious in Dungeon. I mean, it's so delicious in Dungeon, but so.
Nice. Well, how about you, Rick? Since you jumped on board with the Castlevania there, what else are you watching?
Okay, so right now it's the beginning of 2026. So there's a number of animes that have recently dropped, and I'm not all the way done watching, but I've seen about half of the season so far. Hell Mode, the hardcore gamer dominates in another world with garbage balancing. This one is actually really, really cool. This guy, he's a gamer, and he's tired of playing all these games that only give him enough replayability for like a handful of months, and then the game gets old, stale, and it's too easy for him to play. So then he is on his computer, and then he gets a drop saying that there's this game that he can play, and it's this brand new thing and stuff. So he was like, all right, cool. And he's picking his class, and each class has a bunch of different difficulties. So, of course, he picked the most difficult class, which was a summoner class that was only in like the beta or alpha. So it wasn't even fully done. And then with the difficulty, he picked Hell Mode difficulty, which basically put him at a 1 to 200 point experience point disadvantage. So he would have to get 200 times the amount of experience points as other people in order to level up. So what had happened was his whole entire body got transferred into this game. He gets born, and you get to like really go through, learn the world, learn all this nonsense with being a summoner and having a hell mode and stuff. It is really, really, really fun.
Sounds more like an RPG.
That's a lot of the stuff that I like to watch. They're called isekais.
Okay.
And that's where people usually get summoned into another world, and it is like RPGs. I mean, that makes sense, right? Dungeon Master Elite. So.
And I'm going to pivot into my what are you watching? Some recent news that I found out, and I'm sure Joey's already heard about this, but our favorite actor, Bruce Campbell, is currently been diagnosed with a form of cancer. So it got me thinking about watching some of the classic Bruce Campbell stuff that I watched when I was coming up in the world. And I want to point out Jack of All Trades. You can watch it on Roku. It is like Briscoe County Jr. meets Autolycus. It's a fun show. Check it out. It's like I said, it's called Jack of All Trades. It stars Bruce Campbell. It's on the Roku channel. It only lasted 1 season, 2 seasons, unfortunately. But it's a fun watch, and it's Bruce Campbell just being Bruce Campbell. All right, Joey, what are you watching?
Well, to keep with the current state of the world, I was inspired to finally watch the movie Threads. I had not seen Threads since the 1980s and probably the early 90s when it got replayed on TV. It's a British TV movie, and Threads is about a not so big city in Great Britain in the UK dealing with a nuclear bomb and fallout. So they aren't the primary target, but they're a secondary target after the first strikes because of their various industries that they have there. And you get to see very realistic depictions of the aftermath of a nuclear bomb, and very graphic for television. And how people are just dealing with it, how the people that knew it was possible and were preparing for it really still don't know what the fuck they're doing. And it's just chaos. And there's kind of like a real familiar, story leading up to that with that normal people having a normal kind of like some semi-crisis and deciding, well, what are we going to need to do? And this is all, the backdrop is literally a conflict with Iran and the Soviet Union, and then resulting in, of course, nuclear war. It's a tough watch. It's even on Blu-ray. I mean, it looks like they shot it on 16 millimeter, and there's some really scratchy scenes, and some of it's supposed to look kind of overexposed or whatever. But it's an ugly movie, both in what it's depicting and kind of the quality of the video that you could get a hold of now. It probably looks better than when I saw it on TV a long time ago. But it's still it's a little rough around the edges, but it actually adds to the movie.
Gotcha.
It gives it kind of a documentary feel. And Threads is, I mean, you are going to be inspired to check your go bag and make sure you have all the emergency supplies with you for however many days if you plan on fleeing the area. And being that we live, all of us, I think, live within an hour of a major target, Chicago, because we live in the greater Midwest and Ileana area. I mean, it hits home. You're just like, well, what if something happened there and we're going to have to deal with the fallout, or we're going to all have to rush and, just leave our homes and just try to get south before we are breathing in radiation or something like that. Do I think that's going to happen in the current climate of things? No, I don't think our current person, or country that we've pissed off is capable of getting a intercontinental ballistic nuclear missile at us. But are they capable of just blowing up a dirty bomb full of radioactive debris? Fuck yeah, they are. And it's a scary, sick, scary fucking movie. Watch Threads. It's an unconventional horror movie. Or don't watch it because it's fucked up.
well, way to really kind of bring it down there for the end of the episode, Joey. But all right, I am always curious to watch something that's kind of close to what's going on in the current climate, or throwbacks to it. Because I mean, I don't want to get on a soapbox or anything. So, but
it's a reminder of how long there's been a conflict with Iran too, because the movie takes place it came out in 1984.
Okay,
and I think the whole Iran hostage thing happened when I was a baby or just before I was born or something like that.
Gotcha.
And you would go find earlier 1970s pictures of Iran, and there's ladies walking around in skirts going to college and shit before they had a regime change, and it's it was a whole different fucking country.
Yeah.
And then Ayatollah.
Tim, I think that's about it, buddy. So if you want to take us home.
Thanks for listening to Middle Age Movies Podcast and our review of High Plains Drifter. We hope you've enjoyed it, because I know we had a hell of a time bringing it to you. And if you did enjoy the review, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share with your friends. Let's make 2026 the year you help us grow this podcast and really get the word out to the masses. Not only are you helping us grow the MAM community, but you're doing your friends a salad by keeping them from wasting their precious death clock on crappy movies.
Follow us on Facebook, X, Blue Sky, and Instagram. Have a comment or suggestion, then email the show at manreviewpodcast@gmail.com.
Thanks. Stay cool, and bye, everyone.
So, guys, I got a trivia question for you. Did Clint Eastwood star in more Westerns, or does he have more babies' mamas?
Westerns.
When the lights go down, the big screen gets so bright. I got my favorite beverage, snacks, and my chair feels right. Color, silent, black and white. You never know what's on that screen tonight, but you're gonna find out on middle-aged movie reviews. Well, will I like it? Will I like it? 'Cause you know the death clock. No, it's not rewinding. No, will I like it? Will I like it? 'Cause you know the death clock. No, it's not rewinding. Oh, will I like it? Will I like it? 'Cause you know the death clock. No, it's not rewinding.